from it.
Did you have any role in verifying the content of the surveillance?
No.
I'm going to have a few questions about that, but I want to talk a little bit more about your role with cell phones and cell towers. So let's start there, okay? What training do you have for that role?
So some time ago, I went through what they say PATC training, which is cellular analysis, and I've also taken classes for the CAST codes.
The cellular analysis, is that particular to the device itself, the cell phone device?
No.
That is particular to towers?
To the towers and the providers themselves.
When did you take that training?
Well, the CAST, I believe it was in 2019, and then I also did it again last year.
And the CAST that you took in 2019, that was the ENDICAC, is that right?
That was for the ENDICAC, right?
And the CAST that you took last year was October of 2023, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was the actual CAST training?
They were both done by actual CAST members. I'm not sure if one was sponsored by the other, but they were both owned by FBI CAST members.
And Your Honor, if I can approach.
Yes, thank you.
Detective Mowry, I'm putting in front of you what's labeled as Defendant's Exhibit O, and those are 2 certificates for training. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So the one that's from 2019, what did that cover?
That covered the use of the CAST codes software.
And what did the one in 2023 cover?
The same.
Your Honor, I move for admission of defendant's oath.
The objection?
No objection.
Okay, those are exhibit. Oh, no objection. Thank you.
Detective Mowry, how many total hours do those certificates represent of CAST training?
I apologize, I didn't look, it was a week long. It was actually a couple of days each time. 2 days a piece of paper.
You need this?
So the 2019 shows 24 hours, and the 2023 says 16 hours.
Thank you, Detective.
Thank you.
Detective, you've written some reports in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
I want to talk about 2 particular reports right now. One is from May the 5th of 2023. Do you recall that report, or should I bring a copy of that to you?
If you'll pull that up.
I will definitely do that. You can show it to Ms. Jennings.
We have a jury next door,
Okay.
just so you know that's all about it.
Detective Mowry, does that appear to be your report from May 5th of 2023?
Yes.
And Your Honor would move for admission of defendants P?
That's P.
P, like Paul?
All right. Any objection?
Mm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Exhibit P is admitted. No objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Mowry, I do not have a police report for the other one that I want to talk about today. It's one that I received via email today that was written just within the last few days by you, probably. Do you know what report I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I want to understand is we're talking about documents or records or logs that can be created by a CAST-Viz program. The report that you wrote that I received today, when did you learn about those documents that exist according to that report?
The session logs that I found were from yesterday.
Why did you come to find them yesterday?
I was preparing for this hearing.
Okay. And those are things that existed for quite some time, is that correct?
They did.
And when you wrote about your work with CAST-Viz in May of 2023, did you document those items?
No.
Tell me what you found when you were preparing for the motion to compel today.
I found session logs that were sent to me from the FBI.
All right. And in those session logs, how many files were there?
I don't remember. I think there were 6 or 7 different items inside.
Did you look at the CAST-Viz 48-hour file?
I don't remember if I did. It was on the reception.
Did you look at it yesterday in preparation for this hearing?
I attempted to.
All right. And how about the CAST-Viz full log?
I attempted to yesterday.
I noticed in your report that there were several items that you listed. Were those from these CAST-Viz logs that you attempted to look at yesterday?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to, you need to speak up a little bit. The clerk is telling me to pick up a little bit.
There were some files that were in the session logs, there were other files that were not.
Well, let's start with the 48-hour. What was contained in there?
There's over 48 hours that was the AT&T records, the original records, and there's a 48-hour session log. I don't know which one you're asking.
Let's go with the session log. What was in there?
Appeared to be the AT&T records that possibly were inputted, as well as some JSON files that were probably produced by CAST-Viz.
JSON files were produced by CAST-Viz. Is that right?
I would assume that. I didn't create those files.
What date were they created?
I believe one was in December, the other was in April.
December of what year?
22,
And April of what year?
23.
Could you tell who created those?
I could not.
How did you get those?
I was provided those via email.
By who?
Mid balance of the FBI.
What did you do with those?
I gave them as soon as I realized they were in my possession. I had contacted the prosecutor and gave them.
And that would be just yesterday, is that correct?
Yes.
What did you do with them prior to that time?
They were sent to me. I put them in a folder and I didn't do anything else with them. That's why I forgot them.
Okay. And that was the 48-hour file?
The 48-hour session log, yes.
How about the full file? What was contained in there?
Similar items to the 48.
What is the full file?
I believe that was the second AT&T return that we got via warrant. I wasn't able to open it to verify it.
That brings up a question for clarification. When you say second warrant return, are you talking about something that relates to Brian Koberger?
Yes, there was 2 warrants that were originally written. One that covered a 48-hour period for the cell phone number, and there was one that was later done for a longer period of time.
And those are what you're referring to as the warrants 1 and warrant 2?
Correct. One for 48 and one for the longer period.
In the report that I just received today, there was reference to a loped bar file. What's that?
It is a file that I received from Agent Downs.
When did you receive that?
Honestly, the modification or the email, I honestly don't remember. Unfortunately, it was yesterday and I didn't throw this stuff together, so.
Okay. So that was one that you just found yesterday?
Yes,
Okay. Did you open that?
I don't recall opening it. But I did, I don't recall doing it.
How about the CDRS.XLSX file? Was that, and CDR, what does that stand for?
All detail records.
Did you open that?
I don't remember if I did not.
Did you open it yesterday?
I don't remember. I was looking for it. Once I found them, I was trying to figure out how they came into my presence or in my possession. That's why I started to post.
Okay. How about the export.kmz file? When did you find that file?
I had found that one yesterday.
Do you know when that came into your possession?
It was some time ago.
Did you open that?
I believe I did on my laptop.
What did that show you?
It showed me different locations and so forth on a map.
Those three files that we just talked about, along with the CastViz 48 and the CastViz full, are those copied so that I can have those now?
Yes.
And you referred to emails. How many emails did you find when you were preparing for this hearing?
Either was 5?
Are those included for me to have now as well?
Yes.
Thank you. In the report that I received today, there was a reference to drawings.json file. What's that?
It was a JSON file that was inside the CastViz session notes.
What does that depict?
It's just data that CastViz would use, I'm guessing, to replot something on the map to actually show the locations or other things.
Did you do anything with that file when you found it yesterday?
I did open that file, yes.
Okay. What did that show you when you opened it?
There were references to 2 locations inside.
When you open it, does it just say here's 2 references, or what does it show you when you open?
It's different code, but there is some plain language or plain English, plain text inside of that code that show 2 addresses.
Did you use that file? Well, let me ask this first. That file that contains code, do you use that with the CastViz program?
I attempted to load the session file in its entirety and received errors, so I was not able to. That's why I went into the JSON file to see if there was something I could see reference.
Is that file usable?
I'm sure it is to someone.
What is the restriction for you?
I don't know what restriction it is. I don't know what to do with that file outside of, if I could possibly bring it into the CastViz. I tried to pull it in as a combined session log, which is what I was trained to do. So I didn't get that. I didn't pull that file.
Is that file available on a Discovery drive for me?
Provided to the prosecutor today.
Thank you. In the report that I just got today, there's a reference to another CastViz session and some screenshots. What is that about?
I believe you're talking about just the regular 48 hours folder.
I don't know. I'm curious.
So that I provided 2 folders. One was CastViz and one was just my last name of Maori. That was to differentiate the files that I found that were provided to me and the folder of the files that I use to create this report.
Okay. CastViz is the files that you found while preparing,
Correct.
and the one that says Maori is what you used to create your May 3rd report of 2023.
Yes.
Okay. I think I understand that now. In that file, I think your report said you found screenshots dated April 19th of 2023.
Yes.
All right. Does that mean that's the day that you put things into your CastViz program?
That was the day that I made the screenshots themselves.
Okay. Where are those screenshots now? Are those also included on the drive?
Yes.
Okay. And then your report dated 5/3 says that you were asked to examine the record. So I'm a little confused if you had something that you took screenshots of on 419, but on 5/3 you were asked to examine the record. What were you doing on 419 or before to get those screenshots?
So I was tasked, the date was May 3rd for the report. It's not the date that I asked.
Okay. What day were you asked to do?
I do not remember. I'm gonna guess that it was somewhere around April 19th. Because that's when the screenshots were created.
Okay. Let's talk about that time frame then and what you did. Did you actually use a CastViz program at that time to create something?
Yes.
The CastViz program that you used at that time, and we're talking about springtime of 2023, we'll call it April for now, if that's fair. What training had you received by then to do this CastViz program?
The 2019 training.
Okay. With the CastViz program, what's the first thing that you did?
Once the program is open, you can drag and drop the CPR records into the program.
CDR means call detail records.
Right.
Did you do just 48-hour records or did you do full records in April of 2023?
I only did 48-hour records.
When you put the records in, those are the call detail records, and those relate to what?
To the phone that the records were coming back to.
The number you associated with Brian Koberger.
Right.
Okay. After you put those call detail records in, do you have to do anything with cell towers?
With the AT&T, no, because the cell tower locations are in the AT&T CPR.
Okay. So you put that record in, the tower locations are already part of the call detail record that you put in?
Yes.
Is that something that you have electronic on your computer and then you open your CastViz program and just import it into the program?
Yes, AT&T provides both PDF and text documents of the files, and I use the text document to put into CastViz to have it adjusted.
And when you do that, what gets exported?
Nothing. At that point, nothing is exported or created that I know of.
Can you export the session that you're working on?
You can export a session log, yes.
Did you do that?
No.
How did you create screenshots?
By using the built-in Windows snip tool, as well as the built-in Windows game console, I believe they call it the game bar, which is just accessed by hitting Windows G, that allows you to record your screen.
Are those the only two things you did, is screen clip and screen record?
Yes.
How many times did you use call detail records in the CastViz program?
Probably a dozen times. I'm not entirely sure.
That was a terrible question. How many times did you use the CastViz program in relation to Brian Koberger's call detail records?
I don't know.
More than once?
I recall doing it for the grand jury because I wasn't the main lead in the call detail records investigation.
I don't understand what that means.
I wasn't the main person looking at those call detail records.
You weren't the main person with the call detail records, but you put them in the CastViz program anyway?
For the grand jury, I was requested.
Okay. What did you rely on in producing those? Producing whatever you produced for the grand jury?
What did I produce? As far as the AT&T records?
I want to know what you relied on to do that, to produce something for the grand jury.
I don't understand the question.
Okay. You weren't the main guy with the call detail records or with the CastViz programming. Did I understand that much right?
There was another investigator that was doing it.
Okay. But you end up involved in it somehow in April of 2023, is that right?
That's why I was asked to examine the data to provide that for the grand jury.
Okay. Was that all of your instruction?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you're asked by somebody else who's actually doing this part of the investigation in the case to produce something for the grand jury to use. And I'm curious about what you relied on, to get to that point. I want to know all the records you relied on, all of the emails, all of the conversations you relied on to produce this thing that you're not the expert for.
So I wrote the update for the AT&T records, received the AT&T records. Those records were also given to another investigator who was the main investigator doing the CPR records. Prosecution then asked me to provide or create some type of visualization of the call detail records and examine the call detail records for the 4 hours in question. That.
Just to be really sure, when you talked about writing the 2 warrants for AT&T, we're talking about 2 warrants that relate to Brian Koberger. There were a lot of other warrants. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to be really clear on that. You've taken the CAST training. Is that right?
Yes.
And you know there's a way to save your session. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's also a way just to hit reset and delete your session. Do you know that part too?
Mm-hmm.
And back in April, when you were creating something for the grand jury, you hit reset. Is that right?
Or I just deleted the files out of it. I don't remember if I had reset or you can delete them individually as well.
You don't remember which thing you did?
Okay.
But you decided to delete what you'd created.
I don't know. I didn't delete anything. I didn't create the session log, so I don't know how I would delete it. You delete the reference of the file in the software, but the file itself is not deleted.
I want to make sure I understand. The record, the AT&T record still exists. You didn't delete that.
Correct.
But the session, when you put that in to the CAST Viz program, and it does its thing with the call detail records, which includes tower references, you either deleted that session or you chose to reset. Did I understand that right?
Didn't create a session log. I don't know how I would delete it. I just removed the reference to the file, the main file, from the software at some point. I don't know when I did that.
You don't know when you did that?
No, you can close the software without hitting reset or delete.
And then it would just stay there.
I deleted that.
And you can also export your session if you get interrupted and you want to come back and work on it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do that?
No.
You left it up and running at some point and then did something that didn't save it. Is that right?
The session log was never created. Did not create a session log. The CDR records that I was dealing with is relatively small. There's no need to do that because I can ingest the files right back into CAST Viz in a short amount of time.
Your Honor, just for clarity, may I approach? I have another exhibit to show him. I get it to you, Your Honor. Thank you. Are you familiar with the document that was handed to you that's marked Defendants W?
Yes,
And have you seen that before?
I have.
Is that something that you were taught from the CAST Users Guide?
I'm sure I was. It's also included in the software that can be readily assessments.
Okay. And Your Honor, would move for admission of Defendants W?
Thank you. No objection. Okay, that exhibit W is admitted.
Thank you.
No objection.
In your training, were you also taught from the CAST Field Users Guide?
I believe so.
I'm about ready to switch gears on you and talk a little bit more about videos for a second, but if I can have just one moment, Your Honor.